Welcome to Connect the Plots with Cylia and Erik, a podcast about the stories that connect us.
3, 2, 1, and we're live. Joining us today, us. I'm Erik Grove. I'm the co-host of Connect the Plots. I'm a Portland-based writer, writing teacher, and editor. My debut science fiction novel is forthcoming next year from Podium Publishing. With me is my good friend and the most ravenous reader I've ever met, Cylia. Cylia, how did we get here?
Well, there's a reason why some of our subheaders are a book nerd and a writer walk into a podcast. When we trace the lineage of us getting into reading and writing respectively, it's a lot longer ago. But I do have a timestamp for our particular podcast, which was about a year ago at NorwestCon 2025 in Seattle. You and I were sitting in a bar, and we were celebrating you having your first book sale, which was so exciting. And then I shared with you a conversation I'd had earlier and a connection with another newfound friend, because I'm often nerding out with others at these conventions and talking about my Bookstagram account. So for those that don't know, I have a sadly underutilized account called Bookbreaker SFF, which is a story all of itself. But I was lamenting the fact that I don't post a lot. I just feel like I'm speaking into a void and there's no conversation. But when I'm talking to folks, I can't wait to tell them what I've been reading lately or what they're reading and what that makes me think about in reading. And then I said, I need to think about this. I don't know what I'm going to do. And then
I think,
you said,
I think that's when I was like, Cylia, what you need is a podcast.
And I said, Erik, I don't know tech stuff like that.
And I do.
And as usual in our friendship, I got a little threatening with the most love saying, do not play with my emotions, Erik. Do not bring this up if you're not serious about it.
No,
Turns out you're serious.
Yeah, no, I've wanted to do a podcast. I love the medium. You know, I love the chatting with people. I love the opportunity to talk extemporaneously and not be interrupted. So no, I've wanted to do a podcast for a while, and I had looked at different options. And so when the conversation started, I was not a resistant party by any means. It seemed like a great idea, and it seemed like really good timing for me to meet more authors and be more visible leading up to my book launch.
Well, and I just love talking to people about the books they've written. I often talk about someone's book DNA, what stories created the structure of who they are, or the structure of the latest story they wrote. So aside from having those conversations consistently, which I love, the other thing I'm loving on this project is the consistent book lists that are coming out of all of these conversations. Like, I love adding to my to be read pile, which is maybe a weird thing to say, but I have no chill. Just give me all the books.
Yeah. I mean, we can see in the background in the video that Syl's got an impressive library, and I have taken advantage of it before. There are one of the key differences between us is that I have not read nearly as many books as Syl has. So Cylia is a great resource for me to curate and narrow down projects, and the same thing with the guests that we're going to have on the podcast. What kind of guests do you think we're going to end up having on this podcast, Cylia?
I mean, speaking of plotting, one of the things that we've talked about is the fact that these one-on-one conversations are really our one-on-one plotting conversations of what's in the bucket, what are we working on, what are we plotting for and against each other. purposefully ominous. So one of my plotting is I want you to read all the books ever, and so instead I have to curate it down to a smaller syllabus just so that you actually have the time to read them, because you're like writing and creating your own stories or whatever. The other cool thing that we've been plotting is the categories of guests we're going to have on. So that includes, of course, writers, editors.
Yep, and then we'll bring in some other people that have something interesting to say about stories that are neither, like librarians,
narrators.
Yeah. So I think that we're on the same page, and that we want to talk to anybody that has anything interesting to say about the way that stories connect us. And so that's
100%.
That's a broad spectrum of folks that we can talk to.
And that those connections are why we're calling our interview episodes the connection episodes. We're not just connecting with these guests, which we absolutely are, but it's about the connections they have to the different stories, and the connections with other people that led to stories or that referenced or recommended stories. And that's the coolest part. I think you'll see in our some of our imagery that there's some red string in there, and that's on purpose. Having a little pin board of all like conspiracy theory style back and forth between the people, the stories, the connections are some of the most fun ways I have to get book recommendations, or get excited to tell others about books I think they may like as well.
And for me, it's the connections of community between writers, the way that we can inspire each other, the way that we can challenge each other, and understanding, you know, the things that inspire the people that inspire me. I think makes me feel like I'm a part of a greater continuum of you know, like a greater writing culture, and also talking about the ways that we can continue to inspire and connect others. I think that's something that I'm really passionate about, and it's something that I do as a writer and as a, you know, just a member of the writing community. It's something that's really important to me.
Well, and that makes me think about the fact that this is a podcast that is primarily through the lens of speculative fiction.
Right. Yeah.
In part because
that's what we do.
That's what you write.
That's what I write. That's what you read. I mean, it's not. We're not gonna not talk about things that are not science fiction, fantasy, and horror. But if we're being true to who we are, we're gonna kind of lead with that, right? Like that's where our stories started. Like that's where our story evolution began. I definitely have a lot of parts of my story DNA that are or book DNA that are a little bit different, that go off in a little bit different direction. But there is a strong through line of science fiction, fantasy, and horror, which is one of the things that I'm plotting. And we'll be talking about as the season progresses. My two like secret plots that I have in
secret not secret
plots that I have in store for Cylia. The first is that I have a pretty big gap in my reading history, where I didn't read a lot of books that came out in the 70s, 80s, and even into the 90s. If it's before the turn of the century, I've read much less from the speculative fiction world. So I'm really interested in Syl's recommendations and our guests' recommendations for books that are going to fill in that gap in my knowledge. So I like, while Cylia is like, oh, I'm gonna torture you by giving you a reading list. I'm like, yes, no, please don't do that. Please don't do that. Keep it coming.
No.
Keep it coming. And then the other is that of the flavors of speculative fiction, I really love horror, and I think Cylia really loves horror. But if you ask Cylia, Cylia is going to insist that she does not like horror. And my attitude on horror is that there are horror books for everybody. Like, I think that there are horror books that will bring anybody into the horror genre, and I have ideas for books that I'm going to suggest and want to discuss with Cylia that will maybe reduce some of that, oh, I don't read horror hesitation.
I will say it has been humbling in my self-perception of myself to realize how many books I've read that Erik brings up are horror, and I say, what do you mean? Oh yeah, I guess spikes through the head are horrific. I haven't thought about that before. That's true. Or yeah, fairy tales where they're cutting off toes or heels or dancing in red hot iron shoes. Yeah, those. Yep, that's horror. So there's a lot of self-discovery. We're going to go on a journey together this season. And by self-discovery, I mean, maybe I like horror more than I thought, but I really don't think I do, but maybe.
So the plan is that we're going to alternate between plotting and connection episodes. So this being our first kind of introductory episode, we're talking a little bit about the plot of this podcast. Our next episode will be about connecting with our first guest, and then we'll have a plotting episode and then a connecting episode, so on and so forth.
Okay, so we have a premise where a book nerd and a writer are walking into a podcast and they're plotting and connecting to get book lists and to be read and connecting with people in community. We're going to be interviewing and connecting with people as part of that, which includes various categories of folks, and you're going to get book lists out of it. And ultimately, Erik and Cylia are just going to keep connecting and plotting because we love to talk about this amazing world of speculative fiction and the connections between people and stories.
Yeah, in upcoming weeks, I'm really looking forward to talking to our guests, talking more with Cylia, and also talking with our audience. I'm going to be managing a lot of our social media accounts, so we'll also be chiming in. We'll be interested in hearing from you. We'll be on Instagram. We'll be on Blue Sky. We'll be on Threads. We'll be posting these things on YouTube, anywhere you can get your podcasts. I'm interested in making sure that the people have the ability to listen to us in different forms and formats and communicate back to us. So stay tuned for the ways that you can do that. In the coming weeks, we're going to be talking a lot more about the ways that you can get involved.
Well, thank you for joining us. I hope you're going to enjoy our upcoming episode. And I know I sure enjoyed the conversations we had with the folks who joined us. All right. Well, Erik, I'll see you next time.
See you next time, Cylia.